Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, we are going to be using pattern vinyl from Gracefully Created to create geometric mountains. We're going to add some accents using TeckWrapcraft Vinyl, and I'm also going to show you how to download a file from Fabrica and create a double offset in Design Space. So let's get started. I'm using a 24-ounce plump from the Steel Magnolia, and I'm using a fast set epoxy. We're only applying about 1.5 milliliters to this tumbler. You want to stretch it extremely thin and then go around the cup with a gloved hand and dab around. That's going to give you texture to your tumbler and take away any of those streaks, so you don't have to allow this cup to sit. You can go ahead and go into your glitter. We're going to be using Remington and PARADAS. I have no clue how to say it. I know I said it wrong, so don't come at me. I think it's probably Spanish, and I have too much of an accent for that to roll off the tongue right. So anyway, we're going to start at the very top rim of this tumbler, go really heavy on the top rim, hold it at an angle, and allow that glitter to fall down the tumbler as you are lightly sprinkling it on. I'm going for the top third of this cup to be Remington and the bottom 2/3 the other glitter color. We're using 2 glitters with silver accents, so I did not paint the base of the tumbler. I just sanded and prepped it really well and moved straight into adding on our epoxy and glitter. We're going to do the same with this one, except since we had good ombre on the first color, we can pretty much just dump this one on at an angle and get good coverage, but make sure you go around the bottom really heavy so you have good coverage on the bottom and around that bottom rim. To flatten out this glitter, I am going to pop it down on a piece of printer paper, roll it up, and gently press that glitter down. Doing this is going to eliminate multiple coats of epoxy to get this ready for our vinyl. We used a fast set epoxy, so I allowed this to dry for 2 hours and then added on a generous coat of fast set. And 6 hours later, I gave it a good sand and it was ready for us to add on our mountains. If you have saw my tutorials before, you know that I use paper to measure a lot. And there's no rhyme or reason or pattern in which I am placing this. I just wanted to make sure that I had pretty much a stencil to go by for placement of my vinyls. So I'm just going to go around the cup and make a few peaks using the paper. I folded it to make a smaller angle, sharper point on the top, and then took a fine point Sharpie and marked where my paper was. I did this 3 more times to make a total of 4 mountains around the tumbler, just resizing the paper each time so that each one of the mountains are going to be a different size or shape. Since our glitter color was pretty dark, the Sharpie is the only thing that would really show up on here, and I wanted that to be bold so that I could see it when applying my vinyl. But if you were to mess up or make lines where you don't want them on your cup, then you can definitely use a little rubbing alcohol or a magic eraser and wipe that marker right off. Once we had those mapped out, then I went straight in to cutting my vinyl. All the vinyl patterns I'm using is from Gracefully Created. The only concern I have when cutting these is making sure that they are even all the way across. The sizes do not matter. I would say they vary anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1 inch wide. And I cut about 4 strips of each pattern. We are using 5 different patterns. And I personally picked out these patterns for the Brittany Boutique and PDB Creative Studio Glitter Pack collab. So they already coordinate with each other, but if you do choose to use different colors or vinyls that you have, just choose 5 different ones, or it could be less or more, that have some sort of elements that match each other. Once you have all of your pieces cut, it is time to start adding them to your tumbler. We're going to go right alongside the marks that we laid down on the tumbler. Start at the peak of the mountain and then work your way down. If there is any excess, trim it off so that you can use it on the other side. You want your strip of vinyl to be long enough to use it on the other side as well, so they are the same width. Now, if you're doing a larger tumbler, like a 32-ounce plump from the Steel Magnolia, then you may want to cut double strips at the same size so that you have enough length to do both sides of your mountain. Also, don't just start at the point, make sure that they are creating an X and overlapping right there at the point. That way, whenever you trim your vinyl, you know that you have enough excess up there for it not to affect your design, and you can remove the extra vinyl. This one is going to have the bottom portion of the other mountains coming on the front side of it. So I'm not going all the way down, I'm just stopping right where those lines that we drew come across. Once all of my vinyl for this one was in place, I'm going to stand the tumbler straight up and take a piece of painter's tape and go right down the center seam of my mountain. I took my craft knife and went straight down the side of the painter's tape using a good bit of pressure because we are cutting through a couple layers of this vinyl. Just once you get down to the bottom, make sure you are not applying too much pressure there because we don't have that much epoxy protecting our glitter, and we definitely don't want to cut through that. And then I took that painter's tape and went alongside the lines that are drawn on the tumbler and trimmed off the excess where our other mountains are going to overlap. Removing the excess vinyl down through the center of the mountain will be pretty tricky, so just make sure that you do take your time, and remember that each point has two sides that come together, so you have that same pattern meeting in the middle, and you can remove anything else that is extra. Once our first mountain is complete, we're going to go to the next and repeat those same steps, except this time we're taking it all the way down to the bottom and going alongside our first mountain. Now, I just made sure that the pattern I used to start this one stood out from the edge of the first mountain. I allowed that to come over the edge just a little bit and trimmed off all the excess vinyl allowing it to overlap the bottom slightly because we are going to use our vinyl trimmer from Kimmy Page Boutique to trim off this excess on the bottom. We're using a lot of vinyl and have lots of things going on, so I want to make sure that it's a perfectly straight line, cutting it all at once rather than me cutting these individually. Now, I think I said 4 mountains in the beginning, but I'm realizing that it was actually just 3. So I did 3 mountains around this 24-ounce plump. And for this one, I'm just going to let it play through for y'all so you can see how I place them once again, and then we will pick back up when it is time to trim the bottom. Now that we have all of our mountains complete, we're going to take our vinyl trimmer from Cami Page Boutique and just spin the tumbler around on here. Again, not applying too much pressure because we don't want to cut into our glitter. Remove all of that extra on the bottom, and now we have a perfect line for our vinyl all the way around our tumbler. Now, I realized that I was missing some footage. I guess I did not hit the record button for this, so you will see I'm using a completed tumbler, but I did want to show you how I made this sun. I am using a textured gold from TeckWrapcraft, and I took the lid from the 24-ounce plump and just marked with a Sharpie around the lid, which is 3 inches wide. I measured it here, so just in case you want to cut a 3-inch circle, that will work too. And then I placed it in between 2 of those mountains with the highest peaks, taped off where the edge of our mountain would go with some painter's tape, and then cut alongside the painter's tape and removed the excess. I cut some vinyl strips at 0.08 by 11.5 inches, and I am just taking them in no special pattern, just alternating heights away from the top of the sun and angling them off to the side as I work my way around. I didn't want this to necessarily be perfect. Since we are doing some geometric mountains on here, I just wanted to hand place all of these with the sun, but you can most definitely look up a sun file on Creative Fabrica, easily find one and have that cut by your Cricut or Silhouette and use that rather than adding all of this on manually, I guess you can say. And now let's talk decals, shall we? So I have an issue with decals. I know a lot of people don't like decal day. It is literally the worst for me. So this was attempt 1, and I didn't really care for the moss green in behind the gold. So I said, well, this would look nice to add an offset with a pattern. No, because my original decal stuck to the back of the paper. And this one was attempt 3. I took the textured gold, the moss green, and then put a peach color in behind it. Feeling pretty confident about it, but then when I put it on the tumbler, I again hated the moss green in behind it. So the cup got tossed, literally, and I come back a couple hours later to work on it again. So how we got this file was from Creative Fabrica. I searched Mountains SVG, downloaded this file to my laptop by simply clicking the green download button because I have a Creative Fabrica subscription. If you don't have it, it is incredible because you have access to millions of fonts and images and so much more. And if you check the link down in the description, you can sign up for just $1 for your first month, test it out, and see how you love Creative Fabrica. I guarantee you will because it has saved me so much. I imported this into my design space and resized it to 3.5 by 2.9. And these letters are teeny tiny. Cutting them out of that textured vinyl is going to be difficult unless we make them a little bit thicker. So I highlighted the image, went to offset and created a 0.01 offset, highlighted both the original and the offset, and selected weld. This made our letters a little bit thicker. And then I went back in and did a 0.035 offset, selected that offset, and did another 0.035. I highlighted all of those and changed them to the same color so they will all cut on the same mat. Picked 3 different color vinyls that I felt would layer nicely together and cut these out. Both the black and the peachy color are from the TeckWrapcraft 001M starter pack. I've had a lot of questions on how I remove my vinyl from that backing, so I place the transfer tape on top of my vinyl, flip the whole decal over, grab a corner of the backing, and then lift it up. Take a squeegee tool and place that down on the corner and press as you are pulling back on that backing. Regardless of what kind of vinyl you are working with, it is like magic and works every single time. We're going to place that decal directly in between the rays from our sunshine on the back side of the tumbler. And then admire it for a couple of minutes because I finally found the color combination I wanted with my vinyl. And then it was time for our final coats of epoxy. This has a ton of vinyl on it, so make sure that you go over it with a fine tooth comb, get all of those vinyl pieces pressed down, and make sure there are no bubbles underneath any part of it. This took way too much time for any of this to lift up after you apply your epoxy. After 2 final layers of epoxy, this was complete. I am so happy with the way that this one turned out. I honestly don't even want to use the cup. I just want to put it on the shelf in my room so I can look at it. I hope you love this as much as I do. If you do, give this video a thumbs up and drop me a comment down below. We have some really exciting things coming up in the next coming weeks. One of them being a massive giveaway that you are not going to want to miss. So subscribe to the channel, hit the bell in the corner to be notified anytime a new tutorial drops so you don't miss a thing. Join our Facebook group and follow us on Instagram. Those are also good places to keep up with tutorials, new releases, and more exciting things. All of the products that I have used will be listed down in the description below, as well as some coupon codes. That is all for today. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next time.